Alright, let's start with this. So I already have this written right here. I just wanted to point this out. So this is just the place value of decimals. So this 0 right here, this would be in the ones place to the left of the decimal. And then obviously it would be tens, hundreds. Those are just regular numbers, right? So we know that. This would be in the ones place. Then the first one after the decimal is tenths. Then we have hundredths. Then we have thousands. Okay? So now we're looking at this. And here we have, on number 1, we have 10 columns, or I'm sorry, 10 rows, and then one of them is shaded. So we're trying to figure out which letter, A, B, C, or D, represents the amount shaded. So right here, I know that this is 1 out of 10. Or, if I wanted to write it in fraction form, 1/10. Now, I have to figure out which one of these would be 1/10. Now, which one has, as we see, the 0 here is in the tens place, so it's 1 after the decimal. So obviously this one has to be 1 after the decimal. Okay, so that is 0.1 or 1/10. Okay, so that equals this fraction. Okay, this one is just 10. This is 100. There's no decimals in those. And then this one is actually 1/100th because the 1 is in the second column. So that is the after the decimal, so that is in the hundredths place. So if I were to write this as a fraction, it would be 1 over 100. All right, now let's look at number 2. Now we have, instead of there being 10 pieces that this is individually put into, there are 100. And I see that all of them are shaded except 3. So I know 100 minus 3 equals, what does it equal? 97. And with these answers, obviously, we could figure that out, okay? So, which one is the answer? Now, is it 97? No, because this whole thing is the whole, right? These squares each are a whole. So all of these, unless there were 2 holes, unless there were 2 of these graphs filled in, and one of them was completely full, then we would not have anything over 1, right? Because this whole thing would have to be filled in for it to be 1. So we have to look at decimals, and we have 97 hundredths, right? So it would be 97 over 100 in a fraction. And which one of these is 97 hundredths? Now I know that the hundredths is the second place value after the decimal. So 97 100ths would be equal here. Now the most important thing about naming a fraction is whatever digit comes in the last number, or the number most to the right, that's what you're going to name it. So since this 7 is the number most to the right, that means that we would say this is 97 hundredths. Now in this one, the 7, the number most to the right, is in the thousands column. So that means that this number, C, would be called 97 thousandths. Okay? So this, the answer is B, because it's 97 hundredths, and the reason it's called 97 hundredths is because the 7 is in the hundredths column. Alright, let's look at this one. It is split into 10 again. Although, unlike number 1, this one's split into columns instead of rows, but they are, it is still split into 10, and there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 split up, shaded. So which one of these would be the answer? So in fraction form, it would be 5/10. And which one of these is 5/10? We know that tenths is 1 over from the decimal. So 5/10 would be right here, because the 5 would be in the tenths. This one would be 5/100ths. Okay, so if we looked at 2 and 5 out of the 100 were shaded, then that would be the right answer. But for number 3, 5/10, or D, is the correct answer. And 5/10 as a decimal right here, 0.5 equals 5 over 10, or 5/10 as a fraction.